Hey guys, welcome to the Unleash podcast brought to you by Hidden Gym, where we talk about how to unleash your hidden potential. I'm your host, Yuri Diogenes, and we have a great episode for you today featuring Connor Deuby. Connor, thank you for being on today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Before we jump into today's topics, we would like to invite you to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. You can always find this podcast at hiddengym.net website. And if you live in the area and you have not been at Hidden Gym, make sure to visit hiddengym.net and grab a free trial pass at our website again, hiddengym.net. Connor, welcome to the Unleash podcast. Thanks for joining today, my friend.
Absolutely. I've been waiting to get on here.
Yeah, it took a while for Greg to invite you, right?
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, I've only been around for a couple of years. Didn't feel all that special.
I guess he was waiting for you to compete a little bit more to have more stories to tell.
Yeah,
Uh, and,
definitely.
and let's talk about that because one of the things that we like to emphasize today is really some of the lessons learned that you had as a competitor, and then we will continue to dive into this in more details. But when was your first show?
So I did my first show. It was the Ronnie Coleman Classic in 2018,
Okay.
and I did. I think I did Classic Physique was my original class I tried out.
And were you working with Greg already at that time?
No, my first coach was TJ Clark, the former
Hmm.
general manager at Destination way back when.
Yep. And then the second show you did already with Greg.
Yeah, so I did three shows with TJ, and then Greg and I started working together at the gym. So
Hmm.
stopped competing for a little while. I think I took like a year and a half, 2 years off, and then Greg and I did three shows or four shows together. I don't quite remember,
So after
but I've
after
been
two
working together ever
years, after
since.
almost 2 years off, you did which show?
So we did the Kuklo Classic in 2020. That one was kind of fun because it was a spur of the moment thing because all the lockdowns and stuff were
Hmm.
happening, and me, Greg, Steve, Max Fairchild, and Jeremy Yablonsky were all training together. And Steve's show had gotten pushed back about 20 weeks. And I was nice and sitting at like 250 or something like that, almost 260.
Wow.
And Steve was like, hey, why don't you just do the show? And I bet you can make it, and kind of challenged me to knock off the weight in about 20 weeks. And we blast off about almost 60 pounds in 15 weeks.
Wow.
It
Crazy.
wasn't all, it was not that fun to do, but we got it done. It was a good experience.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So one of the lessons learned. What changed over time as far as your approach from the first show to the most recent one?
Uh, a
Yeah.
lot, honestly, because the first time we did it, my first show ever, we took the scorched earth approach. So I did like 45 grams of carbs for 16 odd weeks straight, tons of cardio, way too much training. Like I trained because I did my own training schedule, so I think I worked out almost every day, like 7 days a week, and that just torched my body.
Hmm.
So like by the end of it, I was like, my body just didn't want to cooperate. I was like, that's enough. So and I'm the type that you have to save me from myself because I want to do more work too quickly.
Mm.
Like Greg will tell you is that he'll have to save me from myself because I'll volunteer to suffer. And he's like, no, we don't need to do that. Just take your time. We're good. I was like, do you want me to do an hour cardio? No, let's do 30. And you want me to cut the carbs to 10? No, let's keep it at 100. And just learning to be more patient with myself and not want to try and push the gas too hard too soon and just kind of trust the process and just go with it.
With this journey, do you also prep clients for shows, or you just do it?
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
I do. Yeah, we've had a few successful clients, and then I help co-coach our collective clients for the gym and with Greg as well. Some more bikini girls, a few physique guys, a few bodybuilders. And then to also kind of branch out my own as well to have my own individual athletes as well.
And when you were mentioning that you are really tough on yourself, you probably are not as tough on the others. You're way more
Uh,
mindful, right?
to a degree, Uh, I can be. It depends on the person because some people, they're good. They say they follow A to B. There's no questions asked. But then sometimes people kind of wander off the plan, and you kind of got to get on to a small degree, just not enough to be a jerk, but also enough to say, hey, look, we really got to stay on plan. Otherwise, this isn't going to work as well in this timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to see myself and my athletes, and I want to project onto them what it really takes to get there, and what to be a high caliber athlete, you have to do high caliber quality instructions.
Right. For all those years, you feel more comfortable doing a long prep or like a short prep? When I say short, I'm talking about 8 weeks out, start prepping, or is more like 16 weeks out.
For me, it's usually between 16 and 20.
So you
I
prefer
like
to
to
go slow.
Yes, definitely, because we know we can pull the weight off if I really need to, but the quality on stage doesn't really show it. So, like for this example, this last one, we did 16 weeks of real prepping, and we took a aggressive approach in the beginning and then eased off towards the end, so I can slop off a bunch of the weight and then kind of finesse it the rest of the way.
Mm.
That way my body stays fresh, and then I can really do my best performance towards the end instead of just kind of dragging along to the finish line.
So when you say you were more aggressive at the beginning, are you say more aggressive on diet,
Hmm.
on cardio, or both?
Mainly the diet, because we train nice and hard. We do a lot of good. We don't have to go crazy in the cardio. If I think I'm a big fan of making sure the performance in the gym trumps all. So say if I'm like, wait, actually I even changed my training mid prep because we were working with Kukla and getting ready for the Texas Pro, and then the Arnold doing his split. And for him, his style training does not work for me, because he's super high volume, whatnot, and mine's more performance based, strength and output oriented. So I even changed from them doing like 5 sets of 10 to, like 50 seconds to like doing one all out set instead. And then my body changed dramatically just by following what works for me. So when we started, the food was low, but the energy's high because, I've got a little extra body fat on.
Hmm.
That way I can just keep pushing. But then once that body fat drops down, we bring the food back up a little bit, but, just balance out the performance instead. That way I can keep on pushing as hard as I can, but without as much food.
But you don't really get a lot of fat. I mean, you stay kind of lean all year round, don't you?
No, me, no. I was actually just texting the guys this morning because I checked it with my coach and just double checked to see if I was actually fat or not, because I'm 235 right now and I've still got vague outline of abs, so not bad for an off season. But normally I'm the thick one that gets a little too thick in the off season. So
Hmm.
that's been my big emphasis this year, is not doing that exactly. And I texted the guys this morning and said, hey, look, bullying works, because they always just call me thick one or something like that. Because you see Greg and you see Steve and these guys, and they always stay shredded all the time. And it's like, okay, how do I do that? So making a conscious effort to not get too fat in the off
So
season.
this is probably one of the biggest lessons learned right now, right? Trying to not
Absolutely.
gain too much fat.
Yeah, because I'm a big eater. Like I'm working with Matt Jansen right now. He's got me eating about 5,300 calories a day, and it adds up. It's all clean food, and I'm holding tight. But in previous off seasons, it would just be kind of free for all, eat whatever I want, and get a little too sloppy, which is not good. And I would just rely on my ability to knock it off and kind of suffer through the prep when I don't really need to.
Hmm.
So I think going into this, whenever I do my next prep, it'll be a lot easier to go into because I'll be at a better quality weight
So
and not.
is this your first like formal off season where you are really focusing in growing with quality?
Yes, absolutely. This is the first time ever in my bodybuilding career that I can fully focus on being a good athlete. Because there's always other stuff going on at the time, like getting ready for EMT school, trying out for different fire departments, stuff like that, on top of working and going to school. And so yeah, now I'm just coaching full time and work at the gym full time. I can really focus on being the best athlete I can as well.
Mm. Yeah, that helps a lot for sure.
Yeah, it's been a godsend.
And from the last competition to now, how much weight did you gain already? I'm talking about the last
So I
one
was
in last year, right? That I think it was in San Antonio that you did.
Yeah, so I went to we did the Heart of Texas together, and
Yeah.
then 2 weeks later I did the Muscle Beach Classic in
Oh, in
Houston.
Houston. Yeah, yeah.
hmm So in Houston I was 187 at weigh-ins and probably like 190 something on stage, and so I'm sitting about 235 right now.
Wow. Wow. And
And that was from October to now.
so you're not really aiming to heavyweight. You want to actually still drop to that weight for the stage, or you're gonna go up one division?
No, I think the goal is because I signed up with Matt Jansen as my new coach, and I told him I was like, look, I want to cap out the light heavyweight class to start. So I've got about 10 pounds of room to play with before I get a little too heavy for the class. Because if I want to go to heavyweight, then obviously I have to go up another 10, 15 pounds on top of what I've already added on to. So that'll be a long ways to go, and so we'll see what we can do at light heavyweight, and and go from
So what is
there.
the maximum light heavyweight?
So the max at light heavyweight, I believe, is 198. I want to say.
Okay, so you have probably 30 pounds, 30, 32, 33 pounds to lose to be on stage, right?
Mhm. Yes, and right now it'll be hopefully we've already put on a decent amount of some quality muscle, like just um, maintaining relatively good conditioning at a heavier weight than because my last off season last year, the heaviest I got was 235, and I did not have remote set of abs, and now I do. So it's a good sign that we're going the right direction.
What else did you think had changed besides the abs that you think like, wow, this is very notorious now, and it was not before?
Honestly, it was me. My food choices is the biggest thing because I like to just eat tons of food as it is. So it's literally just me staying as on plan as I can. I'm pretty boring all the time nowadays, so less going out and getting fast food, eating snacks, whatever it may be, because if I'm taking the new approach now is that, if I can eat anything else after I'm finished all my meals for the day, like all 7 meals of them, then I'll eat something else. But if I don't, it's like, no, you're not going to replace your last meal of the day with a burger because that's not, conducive to what we want to do.
Now you said you started in the class physique division, and then you
hmm
moved to bodybuilding. There is a lot of people that does exactly the opposite. They start in the bodybuilding,
Yeah.
they go to class
Yeah.
physique. What was the rationale for you to do the this move?
See, I always liked classic physique, and when it first came out, I was like, "That's perfect for because I can do a vacuum, which some people can't do, which is makes me look unique, I guess, on stage." But now it doesn't really matter because everyone can do them. But at the time, it was just more appealing to me because I was also smaller, I was inexperienced, and I wasn't honestly, I was also scared to wear the thong, you know. And so now that I've gotten bigger and better as an athlete, like so, for example, at the Heart of Texas we did.
Hmm.
Uh, I did classic and I got whooped. I got second call. I think I got sixth out of like 9 dudes, which is that's pretty sad. And it was a good calling for me because the guy that won the overall, Bailey Jones, I had already beaten him once, and I saw how how this class was progressing, and I am not a genetic phenom that these guys are popping into in that class now. And so when we got off stage, I walked back and I was talking to Greg, and he's like, yeah, you're not classic, dude. You're a bodybuilder. And I had a phone call with Freddie Nato, the one of the head judges in the MPC, a short while later, and he told me the exact same thing. He's like, "Listen, man, you're made for bodybuilding. You're not a classic dude. Just
Interesting.
get bigger." And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Like I've got a decently streamlined physique, but not what they're looking for. Mine's more of a heavy duty kind of blue collar kind of look versus like a streamlined and pretty.
Right.
You know.
So you have a good structure to put on a lot of muscle, and you're probably gonna go at some point. You're
Yes.
gonna go to heavyweight probably
Yeah, more than likely.
because you're not short. You're kind of tall too, so you still can add some muscle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm closer to 5'11" than roughly around there. So, I've got a decently wide frame to add on. And, from where I'm at, if I pack on, like, 15 pounds, I'll look like a completely different athlete.
So what is the plan now that you are doing this off season? For how long is gonna run this off season, and what is next for you as far as competing?
Honestly, so I'm just going to go for a good while, probably take at least a year just to develop and grow in the spots I need
Oh
to.
wow! So no competition this year.
No, and I think it'll be good too because of all the products we have going on with the gym and then my own personal business and just kind of moving through, with life and everything, it'd be good to just kind of not have to worry about competing. Unless Matt thinks I'm ready, then, I'm just not going to bother, like I'd like to, but I also want to progress as much as I can,
Hmm.
as an athlete before I try to really go for it. Because my next goal is to compete in nationals and eventually, be a top contender for, a pro card at least.
Okay, so probably, and you're still young, right? So you don't need to go to master.
No, I'm only 28.
Yeah, so you still have a long run for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
definitely a good idea. Now comes the question. Since this is actually your first off season that you are putting some quality muscle, how do you stay motivated throughout the off season? Because I know that a lot of bodybuilders, they love to do sometimes like a short off season, then go straight to competition. It just keep them motivated. Uh, taking one entire year just to grow is not something that a lot of people do nowadays. Mainly in the age of social media, where everyone wants to look shred all year long, right? How you keep yourself consistent and motivated and the discipline to keep doing.
Honestly, I think it's pretty easy because I'm the most competitive person you'll ever meet, right? So, how it is for me is that if I figure out a way to win, I'm going to follow that route no matter what's going to happen. And the issue is that when people like to compete a lot, that's great, but it's not realistic for you to get better. Because, say, got I did okay at the Heart of Texas and I did really well at the Houston show, but not much of a difference besides just getting a little bit leaner. But you look back at the videos and whatnot, and I was one of the smallest guys on stage, you know, and not having a very short off season does give enough time to really develop in the areas you need to, especially if I want to put on about 10 pounds of muscle.
Hmm.
That's a lot of, when you think about 10 pounds of steak, that's a ton of meat on me,
Yeah, yeah.
and you'll see dudes that will go and do a show like every few months. It's like, cool, that's great. You got some trophies and whatnot. But then when you go to like the real big stage, you can't compete with the big boys because you haven't taken the time to actually develop and get there.
Hmm.
So for me, it's the long game, not the short game. Because for me, it doesn't. Winning local show is awesome, but it doesn't really mean anything in the perspective of turning pro. It's like, cool, you won a show, but when you go compete against the big kids on the big stage, and you get last place, then all these little mini shows you did, it's like, cool, but I'm here to win.
Right. No, it's a good point. Yeah. And mainly for you that have this goal to get your pro card, you really need time to when you come back big.
Yeah, man, you see these guys come out the woodworks now, and you're like, wow, like, like the guys that just won the USA's and the Nationals a few months ago. You're like, okay, we got some work to do because I can't even get remotely close to them. So we got a while to work on.
Um, when clients approach you to prep, do you use kind of the same strategy of training weeks, or do you always recommend a long prep, or that also varies according to the person?
It definitely varies according to the person because you say you have someone that's already in pretty good shape, or that you can already tell they have good natural muscle and they don't hold a lot of fat on them. Then yeah, like a client of mine, Anthony James, we did a nice 12-week prep with him, and he was shredded in 6. And we just kind of cruised him on in for the end, just because that's how he works. But dudes that are built like me definitely need a lot longer to kind of get ready because, say, they've never competed before and then they aren't naturally a lean guy. We got to like really, really work to get it all off ahead of time so we can be ready and not just kind of make him miserable the entire way through. And also, with the expectation, most people want to win, which is a good thing,
Hmm.
but we got to make sure the steps are taken to get there.
Yeah, talking about that, because Greg is also a very advocate about the whole mindset of winning, and why it's really
Hmm.
good to have this mindset of win. He always emphasized the importance of enjoy the journey to get there, and once you get there you kind
Absolutely.
of accomplish something already, which is the physique that you accomplished, right? So the winning should be more like a consequence, and it shouldn't be sad if you don't win, right? I think that this is something
Hmm.
very important, mainly for folks that are doing shows for the first time. So do you also talk to them about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, when it comes to the like someone's first show, like this is the advice I got, and it's the advice I tell everybody is that, you may win. You also might not. It's kind of like football. It's any given Sunday. You don't know who's going to show up. You might have a national level competitor that was second place at the USA's last year show up and do your class and just smoke you.
Hmm.
But you might not. You might just show up and win. And it happens sometimes, and it's awesome when it does. But it's like, look, when your first show, let's just get your feet wet, get the experience in. Don't set your expectations crazy up here. Like obviously, you want to come in with a competitive attitude. You want to win, but for your first step on stage, some people can barely get past the thought of people staring at them in their underwear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like, look, let's get you out there first. Let's try it out, see if you even like it, and then we'll go on from there. Because there's always another show. You can always do one a few weeks later, and then we can really focus on that. That's how we took an approach for my first ones. I did the Ronnie Coleman, zero expectations. I got second place. Cool.
Wow, nice.
And then I went, thank you. And then I went to the Kuklo like 4 or 5 weeks later, and I got whooped. I was really excited. I got first call outs, but then, a guy that won the entire thing, he turned pro 3 months later and then went to the Olympia. It's like, okay,
Yeah. You never know.
You don't know
You never know who is going to show up.
Exactly. It's like we always know, there's always that one guy that lifted a weight once and he's shredded, and you're like, oh, okay, he wins. But either way, it's like, look, you never know what's going to happen. You might destroy everybody, but you also might not. That's why it's kind of fun, but it's also like that's why we got to get our work done ahead of time just to be sure.
Yeah. And talking about doing one show and then later on, in a short period of time doing another one, are you a big fan of that? Because it looks like you've been doing this type of approach for a long time. Like last year, you did like 2 weeks between one and the other. What do you really do to improve in 2 weeks? It's kind of hard, isn't it?
It was not a fun process, but I was not happy after the Heart of Texas because the goal we had was for me to win the novice class and the overall, which was my main one for my first step into the bodybuilding scene because I hadn't done it before. And then go on from there, see where I place in the open class, and just whatever happens with that one happens. But we arguably first and second was kind of like I've heard both sides. It's like, all right, it is what it is. But I was not happy, so we took the notes from the previous one and went on to the next one. And it was like the conditioning was there, but the water wasn't quite right, So we took like 1 day for me to relax after the show, eat a little bit, and then I did a 5-day depletion to kind of get everything out of my system, and then just really focus on water manipulation, keeping my schedule consistent. I was doing Epsom salt baths every day at night to kind of pull off the extra water overnight, then do my cardio in the morning and split it in half. And then I think I gave myself 1 day of higher carbs, like the Friday before the following peak week, and then brought it right back down again. And we just came in nice and flat and crispy and pushed the water.
So did you
depletion.
actually feel a big difference when you look at pictures?
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. You can, I documented almost everything, and it was drastically different. It was like Greg texted me. I sent him out his photos, and he's like, "What the hell did you do?"
So you think if you were on that condition at Heart of Texas, you probably have won?
Without question.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, without question.
So
yeah,
does that mean that you probably needed 2 more weeks to get right through the Heart of Texas, or is just the calculation that didn't go well?
It was just the water, honestly, because we're still trying to figure me out a little bit. Is that being a little bit more aggressive with my water is a good thing because I tend to get kind of flat, and if I get flat, I look just no detail whatsoever. So just finding the right balance of the carb up in the water and whatnot was about right. So we think we nailed it pretty well with the muscle beach versus the heart, because you can see my photos from like 3 days prior to the heart, and it was like that physique would have won over the one that popped up. Like it was still good, but it wasn't the best.
Isn't that strange that many times the physique on the day after is better?
Yeah.
Is better than the one on stage.
Yeah, it's the most annoying thing ever. But then if you think, someone will eventually try it, like, let's just eat a whole pizza the night before the show, and then it just ruins everything, It's like, it's like, why is it like this,
Yeah.
And for me, it's like we don't do a lot of fanciness to get me ready because my body just pounds through carbs, especially when I'm show ready. Is like, I think I want to say we pushed about 1,200 carbs in like between Thursday and Friday, and I was still coming in flat.
Wow.
It was just obliterates it. But we can't go too hard.
Did you have to make weight for Heart of Texas?
Yeah, for the classic division, yes.
So you were what, 187 you said, right?
Yeah, so for the Heart of Texas, I weighed in at the night before at 192.
Oh, 192. Okay.
So, hmm yeah, and then we got another 5 pounds off me for the following show.
Oh, so when you went to Heart of Texas, I mean to the Muscle Beach, you were actually heavier.
No, I was a little bit lighter.
Oh, you were
I was 5 pounds.
lighter. Wow.
Yeah, we just pushed the water a little bit more aggressively. I think because we did, I want to say it was 40 ounces of water and I finished that by 3 o'clock on, I think, like the Friday of the Heart of Texas. And then for the following one, 2 weeks later, I did 25 ounces. And that was about it for the rest of the day. I mean, I was pretty comfortable. I wasn't thirsty. It wasn't nothing, but my body went and sucked up everything it needed to and just kind of went perfectly. Because we were, I was getting concerned because I looked like a little like watery and whatnot at like the night before the show, and then the next morning I sent my photos to Greg. He's like, "Oh no, we got it." It just pulled itself right in, just right.
Did you do anything special between the pre-judge and the finals? Like, did you eat any high carbs?
Yeah, it was good because we went to just got a burger in between, and since bodybuilding went first, it's funny. We actually tried to go to like a rodeo goat in Houston, and it wasn't even open yet because we got done so early. So it was like 10:30 by the time I was trying to eat, and so we waited for them to open. They had that and just napped the rest of the day, and then went back for finals.
Nice, nice. Well, it's fun. It's all good and fun. But I'm glad that you are taking the time to grow and make the adjustments that you see. Um, you definitely have a lot of potential, and you're so young. I mean, it's ridiculous. So I think next time that we see you on stage will be tremendous improvement compared to last year for sure.
Absolutely, I'm trying to be a whole different athlete next time I step on stage.
And although you don't have plans for this year, do you have plans for next year? What will be the first show?
I'm thinking I want to do Texas State.
Mr. Texas,
because the idea
to be the Mr.
Exactly. Because I looked at like the record books the other day, and it's like I think it's been 6 to 8 years since the light heavyweight classes won that division or won that show. So I think it'd be kind of cool to be the first light heavyweight to win Mr. Texas in like
that would be awesome.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And it'd just be a nice little trophy to have on top of all my other ones.
Yeah,
right?
that would be.
I'll put that on my resume.
Yeah, Mr. Texas, of course.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have a belt that says Mr. something, Mr. USA, Mr. Texas, whatever. So I want to just have that so I can just be a big show off,
Nice. Connor, thank you very much, my friend, for joining. It was a great conversation.
Yes,
I think it helps a lot. Many people that are listening to better understand the process and the improvements over time and the lessons learned throughout the different preps. So I appreciate you taking the time to share all that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been great.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining again to Unleash Podcast. Stay tuned. We have much more to come. See you next time.
See y'all.